So, there's been a huge shakeup in the economic world. The Trump administration has rolled out a major wave of tariffs, sending a shockwave across the entire global economy. What does this new trade policy really mean? We're going to break down the impact on businesses, other countries, and, most importantly, what it means for your wallet.
All right, so it's official. These sweeping new tariffs are here, and they're in effect right now. Now, what are they? They're essentially new taxes on goods that are imported into the U.S. And as you can imagine, news outlets are widely reporting that this could spark price increases on all sorts of products.
And that leads us to the single most important question, right? The one that affects all of us. Will you be paying more for the things you buy every day? Well, the full impact is still kind of unfolding, but for a lot of items, the answer is looking like a definite yes. Let's take a look at what's getting hit.
And when we talk about what might get more expensive, well, the list is pretty much a tour of your daily life. We're talking about electronics, cars, the clothes and shoes you're wearing, and even some of the food you buy. In fact, CBS News has already started tracking these price increases on literally everything from food to trucks.
So, you might be wondering, is this just the new tax on, well, everything? To really get how these tariffs could actually reach all the way into your home, we've got to get crystal clear on what they actually are first.
So let's break it down. What exactly is a tariff? Put simply, it's a tax. The easiest way to think about it is like a sales tax. But instead of being added at the checkout counter, it gets slapped on a product right at the border when it first enters the country. And, you guessed it, just like a sales tax, that extra cost usually gets passed down from the importer all the way to you, the consumer.
Okay, so we get what a tariff is. But now for the big questions. Who's being targeted by all this? And just how high are these new taxes anyway? The scope of it all is, well, it's pretty staggering.
And when I say the scale here is massive, I'm not kidding. According to Fox Business, this isn't about targeting just one or two countries. We're talking about more than 60 nations, plus the entire European Union. This is a truly global policy shift.
And some of these tariffs are incredibly high. I mean, really high. For example, multiple sources are reporting that the administration is hitting India with an additional 25% tariff on its imports. Why? They're specifically citing India's continued purchase of Russian oil. But the one really making headlines is the plan for a potential 100% tariff on computer chips. And that computer chip tariff? It's a perfect example of the kind of hardball tactics we're seeing. According to the Associated Press, the plan is to impose a 100% tariff, basically doubling the costs on computer chips unless the companies making them build their factories here in the U.S. If that goes through, it could totally change the cost of almost all modern electronics.
So when you see a tactic like that, it just makes you ask, okay, what's the end game here? What is the actual strategy? Let's dig into the administration's stated why for this whole new economic policy.
And it really boils down to this central tug of war. On one hand, you have the stated goal, which is to use these taxes as leverage, to try and bring manufacturing and jobs back to America, and to punish what the administration sees as unfair trade practices. But then, on the other hand, the most widely reported potential consequence is that American consumers and businesses, well, will be the ones footing the bill with higher prices.
And you know, this isn't just about trade. It goes deeper. Like we saw with India, these tariffs are being used as a foreign policy tool. The administration is using these economic levers to put pressure on countries over big geopolitical issues, trying to influence everything from who buys oil from whom to international alliances. But hey, regardless of the goal, one thing is absolutely certain. These tariffs are bringing in a massive amount of cash for the government. CNN reports that the U.S. is now collecting tens of billions of dollars a month from these taxes. That's a huge new stream of revenue paid by companies importing goods into the country.
Okay, so when you make moves this aggressive on the world stage, there's going to be a reaction, right? Let's dive into that global ripple effect and see how companies in other countries are actually responding to all this.
And we're already seeing some major players react. Take Apple, for instance. In what looks like a direct response to this pressure, CBS News and others are reporting that the tech giant plans to invest an extra $100 billion in U.S. manufacturing. So it's a sign that these policies are, in fact, starting to influence huge corporate decisions.
But it's not a one-size-fits-all story. On the flip side, you've got a company like Sony. And this is fascinating. They've actually raised their profit forecast. They told investors they think they'll see less damage from the tariffs than they first thought. It just goes to show you how complex and unpredictable the impact can be. And it's not just companies. The reaction from other countries has been fast and, honestly, all over the map. The Premier of Ontario, Canada, expressed deep distrust and warned that the U.S. could try to reopen trade pacts. Our neighbors, Mexico and Canada, are reportedly teaming up to align their strategies. Brazil is taking the whole issue to the World Trade Organization. And for a lot of exporters across Asia, the future just got a whole lot more uncertain.
You know, when you add all of this up, the corporate moves, the political fallout, the economic uncertainty, it's led some analysts at CNN to ask a really big question. Are we watching the single biggest change to the global economy in almost 100 years? It's a question that really puts the historic scale of all this into perspective, and it leaves all of us wondering what the long-term consequences will be.